Well, hello friends, and welcome to another episode of From the Ground Up. Today we're starting a 3-part series on Bible translations. What are they? Why are there so many of them? And which one should I be reading? To help us walk in on this important concept, I'm going to throw it over to my co-host, Dr. Debbie.
Thanks so much. You may have gone to a bookstore recently, or more likely in our digital age, maybe you've perused websites for different versions of the Bible, and maybe you've noticed that there are numerous options. They have names like New International Version, the Christian Standard Bible, the New Revised Standard Bible, and so on and so forth. They all seem like different versions of the Bible, and there seem to be so many in English. So what are these various versions? This is what we want to talk about in this episode.
To get us started, we want to deal with that word, version. The term version is a bit unfortunate, as it's a misnomer. You see, these various books are not versions, but rather translations of the Bible. The Bible originally was written in Hebrew and Greek, with some additional portions also in Aramaic. When we have these versions, they are just attempts to translate these original languages into our modern English.
What exactly are translations? Well, translation is the application of the methodologies of linguistics. Now, it takes the best reading of one text and it places that meaning into a new language. It's a rendering of one language into another. Now, this happens throughout the world today as various cultures engage with one another in different languages. For example, when I was traveling with One Hope International, I had difficulty understanding the native speakers of the country that I was in. We went from India to Poland, from Poland to Russia, from Russia to Ecuador, so on and so forth. And I can remember when I was in Poland, we had a group of young people come to our house. They were going to study the Bible with us, and they had come a little bit early. So they kept on asking us questions, and we were like, don't understand, I can't understand. And then all of a sudden this word came up, and they kept saying too much. And we were like, yes, this is too much. We need to understand. And they're like, no, too much. And then finally, someone who spoke English and Polish came and said, too much means translator. We needed a translator. Anyone who has traveled abroad or done business with partners from other parts of the world, they're well aware of the constant need for translation work. For the Bible, translation work is bringing about that ancient Hebrew or Greek and putting it into modern or contemporary English.
Translation work, by definition, is always part scientific or part mechanical and part artistry. For any of us who are multilingual, we are well aware that words may have several legitimate ways to be rendered from one language to another. We'll talk about that a little bit more in part 2 of this series. Bible translations have to account for these variations, not just in how we might move the language from Hebrew, Greek, or Aramaic into English, but also for changes within English itself. Over time, any language continues to develop. For example, the King James Version, you may be surprised to find out, actually introduced the term unicorn into the English language. At the time it was used, though, it meant a single-horned gazelle, far from the artistic horse, especially colorful horse, with a horn that we think of as a unicorn today. The point being that translations have to continually adapt and change as languages continue to evolve and change. Examples like the unicorn show that translation work is a never-ending process of trying to rightly render the language of the Bible into our modern texts.
Well, thanks for joining us today. In our next episode, we're going to start talking about why there are so many different translations and what are the underlying reasons for that. Then in part 3 of this series, we will talk about which translation you should use. See you next time.